And we are live. Welcome, ladies. Welcome, gentlemen, and fine listeners and patrons of podcasts all over the world. Welcome again to another fascinating interview with this local hero that I happened to meet in my adventures out here in Wales. We got a very exciting story to share with you, and one with a charitable slant to it. This man that I'm going to be talking to has been into the darts world, a professional pool player, and more recently, he's given himself to the talents of triathlon, going for the Ironman, and he's doing it for a fantastic cause, which is to raise money for two of charities that are very dear to his heart. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome my friend, Todd Davies, to the conversation. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. A lot better than when I spoke to you a little while ago. Some of my injuries and ailments have, well, eventually started to come good.
Yes. I mean, we'll touch on that, of course. But yeah, you're doing a fantastic job of trying to raise awareness for two charities that are very passionate for you. So maybe if you could just give a little introduction about who you are and speak a little bit about the charities you're trying to raise money for.
Okay, so I've been called worse, but I'm called Todd Davies. I've never done an Ironman before. I've done a very short triathlon sprint, which I'm sure we'll come on to later.
Yes.
But due to COVID and due to me playing other sports, I've decided to go straight into the deep end, so to speak, and do an Ironman. And the two charities, one is a local one, which is for my Squid Special School, autistic and versions of that then. And also for Latch, which is based in Cardiff, primarily for young children with leukemia. And I know through a friend of mine what a great job they do, and most of it through charity.
Fantastic. For those who are listening, we are going to put links to the two charities. They are below this video right now. And when the formal, pledge comes up, that will probably show up later this week. So check back this video.
Yeah, we'll have a page to pledge to.
Perfect. So Todd, I mean, you and I had a great chat at the local cafe not that long ago. And I loved your story. You sent me a brief bio before. So I'm going to just walk through a couple of the highlights so our listeners and viewers can get to know your story.
Because I'm a bit nervous.
Oh, no pressure. We got one of our friends in the chat, Brian. Hey, good for you to join us. But yes, so I love your story because you started out as a young man playing darts. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've always been into sport. I suppose I can blame my young friends when we grew up. We were all mad on sport, any sport. We would rain, sunshine, we would play indoors, outdoors. So we played darts. That was one of them. We played cricket, football, rugby, a little bit of pool. But darts, with living in Wales, obviously it rains quite a bit. So I had a dartboard in my mum's house, and then I started playing local pool. And then due to work, I moved away, started playing a couple of competitions. People will tell you I'm pretty competitive, whatever I do. And yeah, the only problem was living away that there wasn't a great deal of darts in the local town that I was living in near Stansted Airport. And then it petered out a little bit. There wasn't not that I was better than them, that there just wasn't a challenge as in people to play enough.
Yes.
And then that's how I got into pool.
I mean, ironically, my downstairs neighbor, apparently he was part of a darts team. And I mean, he has all the trophies and stuff like that. And I told him I was interviewing you, and he's like, "Oh, I actually heard his name. I know who he is," and stuff like that. So your reputation, even with the darts, he I'm sure he obviously picked it up with the pool as well, but he knew who you were. Right. But he's a big fan of the darts side.
Yeah, I love the darts. It's great.
You still play
I enjoy the darts more than the pool. It's a great It's a great night.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean this brings us into the major transition in your sporting career. As a young lad, there was a gentleman out here who had a pool table out here in South Wales, and you and your brother, is that it? The brothers and you?
Stephen and Gareth Jones, Ginger
Yes.
and Gums, as we call them. And yeah, we'd go around their mum's house, and I suppose I hadn't thought about it until we had a chat. That's possibly the first place that I ever played, and it was probably a 5 or a 6 foot table. I wouldn't say basic, because as a home table would go in those days, it was all right, but nothing compared to what you have now in competitions, you know. And yeah, we'd have great fun with that, but I didn't realize at the time, because it was probably another 6 or so years before I even started playing then.
Like professionally, taking it
Well,
seriously.
not professionally. I wouldn't say I've ever been professional. I've been international.
Close enough.
Yeah. I just enjoy it. It's just so happens that I'm okay at it, and I can hold my own. But the story goes, how I got into the pool was when I lived away near Stansted. What with the darts sort of tailing off a little bit. They asked me if I wanted to play in the local pub second team, and I thought, hang on, second team, and I've never been sort of slow coming forward. So I said to them, I play with the first team boys regular and girls. I'm sure I'm as good as you. So
Yes.
I challenged their team to a match where I played each individual, and then depending on the score, if I won, I would play in the A team. Well,
Fantastic.
I ended up in the A team then, and it just went from there then. Living probably only 30 minutes from London, I was going to tournaments every fortnight probably, and the people up there were a different league to me then.
I mean, that is the key thing to your stories, that you always seem to seek out people who are much better than yourself. You want to push yourself. You want to try and be the best that you can. And a lot of people,
I think that's my motto.
yes.
I'm never going to be a world beater at anything that I do, but I'm going to be the best I can for the limited talents that I got. And that means I've had some beatings over the years, you know, of some proper players. But I've come from there, come back to the local league or whatever standard I was playing at, and I've improved.
Obviously, yes.
Because when you go back again, you're going to have another hiding.
Yeah. Exactly. So, I mean, all right. So you moved out to London. You were playing, I think you said you were close to Stansted Airport in that kind of area.
Yeah.
You got a liking for the game. Eventually, you did move back to South Wales.
Yeah.
And started playing, I guess, in the pub scene, kind of informal at first. Is that right?
Well, when I first moved back, I didn't know where to play. I'd been away for 5-6 years. I was mid-20s, and I asked a couple of people. I went to the local snooker hall, asked a few people.
Who's the best?
Yeah, well, yeah, pretty much. Who should I go and practice with to improve? And there were probably, I would say, 2 or 3 names that came up. 2 came up all the time, and one more than any other. So the one name was a guy called Jimmy Walsh. I don't know how many would know him. A couple of people said a guy called Kelly Reedon, who I now know is possibly or arguably the best to come from our valley. But the name that kept coming up was a lad called Chris Williams, which his nickname is Bonds. Yes. And ever since, we've been some places to play. We used to go, every 2 or 3 weeks we'd be traveling somewhere.
Fantastic. I mean, obviously you'll developed a friendship doing all of that as well.
Yeah.
And you'll pushed each other to really try and, you know, be the best you can. You'd say that's fair?
I think back in the day, I say we had sponsors. I had someone who would pay for me to go to some events, and we'd get free practice. We'd go on nights that were quiet, obviously. And we'd go and maybe we'd have a best of 31, we'd be there for 3 hours or more. But we would do that a couple of times a week. And then go into a tournament every fortnight. Just kept you really sharp, and we improved no end quite quickly, really.
Fantastic. And just really quickly, at this point, would you say that you had a real love for the game, or do you know when that love for the game came?
I don't know. Yeah, quite possibly, probably around about 6 months to a year in. Definitely a year in. We went, what was my sort of lucky break, shall we say, then to play an international. We went to a tournament in Aberystwyth. The Aberystwyth Open, it doesn't sound like a big thing, but back in the day it was only something silly like £5 to enter, but £1,000 the winner.
Nice.
So you had people from all over in that. And the first time we went, I got to the semi-final. And lo and behold, the guy who was running the Welsh team at the time was there, a guy called Emil Breeze. And I think I lost 4-2 or 4-3 to a guy from South Wales called Neil Blake, a very, very good player. And then my name sort of got mentioned around. People then were looking at my county averages, because I was then playing county for Mid Glamorgan. And yeah, it just went from there. I mean, you need a little bit of luck, but you also make your own luck,
And I think that's what separates, the pros from the average player. There is that luck, but there's also that dedication that comes from it.
Yeah, I know. I've got quite a lot of drive, like we said earlier, to be the best I can.
Yes.
And also playing with Chris, he's a great player. So yeah, we brought each other on, and we were looking for the next tournament. There was no internet in them days, so when you went to one tournament, you had flyers come round, and you'd come home with a pocket full of flyers, and then you'd have a plan then where you'd be going for the next few weeks. Then
fantastic. And then, of course, your career ballooned even further onto the more national level. Would you say is a fair statement?
Yeah. I'm quite I'm very passionate Welshman.
Yes.
I suppose, like a lot of people, Wales are almost the underdogs in everything they do, because it's only a small country.
Indeed.
I'm proud to be Welsh, and I would represent Wales if it was Tiddlywinks. It just so happens that it was Poole. And yeah, I probably played the first time around, obviously with work and children and other things. It's different. It's difficult to juggle. So I probably played 4 or 5 years the first time. I think we won. I've got it written down here somewhere, but we won the Home Nations. We a couple of other things. I think we even had S4C follow us around where we went to Ireland, and we actually won the Home Nations. I was lucky enough to be captain then, which is a great honour. Indeed. I don't think you necessarily have to be the best player to be the captain, because that certainly wasn't the case. But I think
you got to be respected. You got to be.
Yeah, I think you need a little bit of respect from everybody, otherwise it doesn't work. You need to be a little bit organised and motivational. I think that's perhaps one of my fortes as well.
I mean, with your time doing, obviously the captain of it's the national Welsh pool team. I assume that was the name. Yeah. And you did that for a number of years, you said.
Yeah, I was a couple of years captain. Yeah.
What could you maybe share like a highlight of that experience? I mean, you've reached the top of national prestige. You're playing these nations. How does that feel?
Yeah. Although we didn't actually win the event, probably the most buzz, which is what it's all about, let's be honest.
Yes.
The biggest buzz I had was I happened to be captain when we played in Saint Malo in France.
Wow.
It's a tremendous venue. And back in those days, there was a lot of sort of dance, ravey sort of music with your laser light shows. And we turned up at this venue, and I walked in behind the manager into the playing arena, and we walked through this tunnel of like a laser tunnel. I'd never ever seen. We're talking now, this is back probably 94.
Yeah.
I'd never seen anything like it coming from the valleys. And we came through this tunnel. It was like the entrance into a heavyweight boxing match.
Fantastic.
And when we came out the other end of the tunnel, there was all these laser bullets. Incredible. I mean, I got goosebumps thinking about it now. It was magic, and I've never seen anything like it since.
Fantastic. I mean, the 90s were definitely a creative time for music, and all sports went through a revolution. So you experienced it firsthand. Was there any kind of starstruck moment? Were there any players that you met on the tournament scene that just like, wow, I'm a big fan?
There were a few. I've played against a lot of them, the likes of Ross McGuinness, Ronan McCarthy, and arguably, again, the best player that I've played with and against was Rob McKenna, a chap from Cardiff. And the standard then was such, well, it still is now. But to give Rob credit, I mean, he won the world title twice, and probably on conditions that aren't quite as good as now. Right. And the rules probably didn't quite suit him at certain points because they've changed a bit now. But I went down to practice with him a few times when we played in the same team on Sky, and we won the World Championship for Wales. And I went down a few times to play with him. And for instance, we would play first 10. And I can remember him saying to me the one time, it was 5-all, and he said, neither of us have missed. And I hadn't thought about it.
Yeah.
So I've broke and nothing's gone down. He's cleared. And then every time I've broke, I've not got a ball, and he's cleared on his breaks. And without missing a ball, I've lost 10-5. And he hasn't missed 10. He hasn't missed 10 frames.
Amazing.
And he's some player, and he's a really nice guy, and I got a lot of time and respect. And he always comes over and speaks to me as well, you know, when we're in the same room.
Fantastic. And I mean, just to kind of round out a little bit of the pool story, you also did some training, right? You try to help the young people get into the sport and help them along. Could you talk a little bit about doing that?
I did start it, I'd say probably about 4 years ago. It's a little bit sketchy with COVID and everything now. And my memory's not the best. But there was a couple of younger players who I never really try to push it. If someone's interested, then I'll show interest in them, you know, if they think I can help. It's not everybody's cup of tea. But yeah, and then what actually brought that on was I played a local money match, and when I played that, there were a lot of younger people there, early 20s, who probably weren't born or were in a junior or infant school when I was playing internationally the first time round. And then I wouldn't say I had a fan base, but a lot of those youngsters actually said, wow, you can play like. And they then showed an interest. I probably had about 8 people, all from about 21, 22, down as young as I was doing a youngster. I know him as Cheshire. I was doing a youngster. He was 8. And he loved it. He was into all sports. His rugby was his main thing.
And you can reach the table at 8. That's pretty
Yeah,
good.
just about. That was obviously one of the stipulations. But he loved it. It was great, and he improved. But I would say that the two biggest improvements were two girls. There's not many girls that play, and as far as I know, they're the only two locals that play now.
Right.
And within weeks, they were running with a baton, and yeah, they improved no end. It was really pleasing for me as well. And then I suggested to them, again, me being competitive, should they play on a ranking event? There was one left for the Welsh ladies ranking, and they went and they did really well. But then COVID struck, and I've not seen anybody since.
Yeah, you were sharing the story. And I mean, it's so unfortunate. COVID has obviously put everybody into a
Yeah,
tailspin. So I know the tournaments have closed down. Obviously, the pub scene has closed down.
yeah.
But yeah, there is a fascinating story. I'm gonna see if this is. I got a picture of you here. I'm just gonna add it really quickly. Can you see that?
Yeah, yeah,
So, and
yeah.
wait, hold on. I think I might have. Where would it be? Here's enough. You seem to have these great money shots.
Yeah, but the second one is a team event,
Yes.
with a good mate of ours who's sadly passed away now. I think it's 6 years now. Called Steve Parry, a really motivational person for me. And yeah, that picture was when we won a big tournament down in Treco Bay, a Welsh national team event, and a gang of us from Aberdeen. We won that. But coming back to the first one,
Yes.
that's
I
the
know there's
one.
a story. Yes.
Yeah, that's the one that triggered a couple of the youngsters asking me, and I suppose a lot more respect of younger people who probably never seen me play. I think what happened was that when I played the match, and I played fairly well, and I played one of the better local players, a chap called Darren Rood. Yeah, I think a lot of people came along and they could feel the buzz and the nervousness and the energy involved in a money match, and the banter, which is part of
Yes.
it. Yeah, and they took that on board, and then yeah, they started asking me about how can I
If you could
improve? How
teach.
can I?
Yeah.
And the ones who were asking me were the ones who wanted to improve. But
Yes.
the game, sadly, because I don't buy into this. There were two clubs in the valley, and there was a little bit of. It's okay to have rivalry, but I don't know, there was a bit more than that to it, and it's
A
not
little
my cup of tea.
disrespectful, kind of.
Well, it's not my cup of tea.
Sure.
But one of my sons was going there regular to the other venue, then shall we call it, in Aberystwyth. And because he was a cricket coach, most of his work was in late afternoon, evening. So he'd go with his mates around about midday. He'd have a couple of hours there. And for some reason, a couple of people there who I don't know, they wanted to tell him that his dad wasn't very good,
Right.
which he took on board. And I think from what he said, he told them that if they tell me to my face, then I would probably laugh it off, which I would.
Yeah.
It didn't matter to me. But he went a little bit more than that he was getting this for 4 or 5 weeks, and he'd had enough. So he mentioned it to me, and I thought, oh, okay, I'll mention it to the chap, one of the chaps who was doing it, and I said, it's no big deal. But then from that snowballed this money match, and it ended up that it was a few £1,000. And we played to keep it fair, because obviously there's a home venue. Each person's got a home venue. We played at 2 venues, like a home and away, but all on one day. It's quite a long day. He selected how many frames and this and that, and where we would play first. And we came from his venue, and it was fairly close. I think I was 17-12 up. And then we went back to the Con Club, which was my chosen venue. And I played really well. And to be fair to him, he came out of the blocks at my venue and broke and cleared the first frame. And then I played well. And he's a good player. And I was well pleased. I think the final score was 30-15. And that's where all the money, I think there were 5 people, 4 others and myself who had our share of the money. People that I know and trust and regularly sort of support me then. But then it didn't quite end there. This is where it got a little bit naughty, really. They weren't happy with that. I don't know why. They'd lost a lot of money. But we'd had a great day, mind. Both sides. Yes. There was some great banter, and it was a great day. Obviously, it's slightly better when you win. I know that, but it was a great day, and there was some good pool played. But they then wanted to. They wanted to push my son into doing a charity boxing night, right. Which he was all up for the charity, but it had to be against them. It was a them and us type of thing again, and there was no need for it. And the guy that he fought was a lovely fella out of the ring, and they had a bit of a tear up, and that was it. It was just a little bit unsavory, really. There was no need for it.
It's a great story, and as you say,
it is actually a good story, and there are a few morals to be had from it. Yeah.
Was it the old? I mean, I think this is where you said you met the girls that you ended up training. Was it part of that whole thing? They were
one of them.
Okay.
And then somebody else saw me giving some advice. I don't like to say coaching, some advice to the one girl, and somebody said, "Oh, there's another girl that plays in the league," and that's where I think that I'm out of touch with the league. To be honest, I haven't got enough time now. Time is more precious as you get older, obviously.
As you do, yes.
But that's where the second one came from, and fingers crossed, maybe they'll come around again. I know there are plans. There have been plans, and obviously COVID has put the mockers on them, so to speak. But there are plans to do some sort of junior coaching, yeah.
I mean, that was my last question before I was going to read a couple comments from your friends and so forth. What do you see your involvement in pool going forward post COVID?
Well, hopefully once this Ironman's out of the way, because fortunately with COVID there's been no tournaments, so I think I'm number 3. I've played 4 years. I'm 56, so I should have played 6 years on the Masters, which is over 50s.
Yes.
But I've only played 4 because of COVID. The first 3 I was number 1 ranked in Wales, which I'm quite proud of.
Of
because,
course.
A lot of people would say, they're over 50s. But let me tell you, within that bunch of 50 or 60 people who turn up at those ranking events, they've all played for Wales pretty much at some point in their life. We had one guy, Adrian Jones, a good friend of mine. He is still, I think, the world champion at our age. He's the Nations Cup champion at our age. And we had another lad, Rob Tate, who's the European champion. So we had all the titles, and I was quite pleased that I was still number 1. And then last going off, I think I finished number 3, where another guy called Mark Leyland took the number 1 spot. So it's competitive, and it's probably the best thing I've ever done, because you play as if everything depends on it, But then after, it's shake hands, your best of buddies. Everybody has a bit of a drink, depending whether you're driving, obviously. And yeah, I really enjoy it. And I've been to a couple of events. We won the Europeans in Bridlington. We went to Cyprus 2 years ago. So yeah, it's great.
It's exciting. I mean, I look forward to it. I mean, the con club isn't too far from here, so hopefully when things are back up and running, I can come and enjoy a game with you. We actually got a comment from a gentleman called Craig Marsh, the 2017 World Pool Champion.
Yeah, he's in another league to me.
But he had some great things to say about you. And guys, this comment is actually in the description of this video. I'm just going to read it for you because I don't know if he sent this to you or not.
No.
So he says this, just a few words about my friend Todd Davies. He's really one of life's good guys. He's one of the mentally strongest people I've known. I've struggled with my weight loss for many years, and we were in a tournament once, and he pulled me into a room and had a long chat about a lot of different things that could help me. Now I'm finally on my journey thanks to his help. He really is a great guy, a good pool player. I think his mental strength has definitely helped him over the years competing. So again, that is from your friend Craig Marsh. Great accolades. Yeah, I don't know if you want to say thank you or.
I actually remember that. I've played against Craig a couple of times, and I've come off second best, which many do. But I've done okay against him. But yeah, I remember watching him in an event on the TV, and he beats himself up an awful lot. If he's got such high expectations, he's such a great player. I think he's made 2 147s back to back, which is ridiculous in snooker.
Wow. Yes.
Some professional snooker players haven't even done that. And I can remember, I know where the event was, and he was playing, and I said to him, I've got a technique which not everybody takes to, but I can tell you how to do it. And we did. We went into a side room, and I explained it to him. And funny enough, the next time he played on TV, he lost in the final, and because I don't know. Perhaps it's a little bit wrong if I said at times his mind looks like as if he's got a bag of frogs in there, because if something goes wrong, he can lose it. But
he could kind of fall apart.
Yeah, but I think he's taken on board a couple of the things, and he's obviously brought in a couple of other things that he's looked into. And yeah, he does look a lot more composed, shall we say. And I know recently I've spoke to him through the internet, and he's on a weight loss. I think he lost almost a stone in the first 2 or 3 weeks. He's a large guy, larger than life. But a really nice guy, yeah.
I mean, even for myself, I've been on a weight loss journey as well, so I can relate to that struggle.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm on a particular diet. Those who follow my channel will know I'm on a carnivore diet. So it's a lot of meat and stuff, no processed stuff, all real food. Some limited veg and fruits sort of thing. So I don't know what trade secrets you guys have in the pool world for weight loss. But we wish him all the best and continue.
Speak to Craig because he's losing more than me.
Fair enough. I mean, so let's talk about your latest endeavor. And again, you're involved in this for charity, guys. For charity. Information below. Tell us about what possessed you to do a triathlon at 56.
Well, going back to having a bag of frogs in your head. I must, when I signed up, I must have had that moment. This is without doubt the most ridiculous and toughest thing I've ever done. I have questioned it over certainly the last 6 months, where I've trained really hard, and I've had a lot of ups and downs with illness and injuries, which we'll come to later.
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, some weeks I've done between, and this is nothing new to people who do Ironman. I'm no different. I mean, I take my hat off to anybody who's finished one, because I haven't
Agreed.
finished one yet. This is my first and last. Um,
Well, you say that, let's
no,
see.
no, it is. I like to go back to the pool. It's a lot easier.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I've done some weeks, 16 hours training outside of work. I've cycled 100 kilometers, and none of the cycling around here is easy. Or the running, you haven't got to go far before you're
It's
in the
uphill.
hills.
Yeah.
I've done, and then swimming a couple of miles at a time, and it's never ending. And then, diet. I've got to mention Stuart. If you check out Stuart on my friends on Facebook, he done me a diet, and up until recently, until I was ill, that diet has stood me in good stead, and my energy
Good.
levels were good. Although I've lost a little bit of weight, not a lot since I first started on his diet, but yet I'm a lot leaner.
Excellent. I mean, let's kind of start at the beginning. You have done a half triathlon before in Swansea, is that right?
What they call a sprint triathlon.
Okay. Sprint triathlon.
This was in Swansea, and
Yes.
I'd recommend the Swansea one to anybody because the support is incredible. The swim was a 750 meters. So what's that? About half a mile in Swansea Dock. And
Nice.
It was like a bit of a cauldron. The support around the sides was incredible. I've got a video somewhere on my Facebook of the start with the hooter, and just somebody said to me the other day, it looks like flying fish where you all started. And that was just a part of it. It wasn't everybody. That was like a staggered start. I think I was one of 4 sessions that went off then. So then, you get out of the water. I did 20k bike all down the seafront, which was flat. It was ideal.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And then a 5k run, which, I mean, at the time, I thought that was quite far, but I believe the Ironman is something like 8 or 9 times longer, and just, mind blowing. But the reason that I did that one was that someone in our family circle then had a stillborn. It was a very tough time, and I don't know. It was just I needed to get out and do something. It's a time when you can bottle up stuff, and I think getting out and doing exercise, it can clear your head. You're out on your own normally. Come rain, shine, mainly rain around here.
It's Wales, yes.
And I, with the help of a lot of friends, I raised over £1,000 for SANS, which is for stillborn. So quite proud of that.
Fantastic. And I mean, obviously the enjoyment of that and so forth is translated now that you're going to do the full Ironman.
Yeah, I don't know. It's starting to wear a little bit thin now, to be honest. It's not enjoyable. It is. It's really, really tough, and
it is.
It started to take over my life basically. Between you get up, I'm up at maybe 6 in the morning prepping food for the day, following Stuart's plan, doing 5 meals a day. Albeit one might be porridge, but it's a meal.
Yes.
And an important meal. Then go into work, and I must admit, I've had a new job since the new year due to redundancy with COVID, and they've been superb. I plod on with the work, and I eat my food at various times, perhaps a little bit unsociable because I don't tend to have food with them, because I tend to have it at certain times to fit in with whatever training I'm doing at what time. And then I come home and I might be out on the bike for 2 or 3 hours, or running for the same. And then swimming. it's non-stop. And
Absolutely.
the weekend doesn't get any easier. Like it's probably the weekend is tougher because you're doing your longer stuff on the weekend, 4 or 5 hours on the bike.
So how long ago would you say you started training, and who gave you a training program?
I read a book.
I love it.
Someone who I played pool with a long time ago, Warren Hodgkinson. He told me about a book, and yeah, I read the book, and I think you can read all you want, but you have to adapt it to your body, your age, your time that you've got available. And every week I make a plan, and every week I change that plan because of the weather, because of injury, because of something's cropped up, and you just have to change the plan and go again. Yeah, honest, it is. I can't begin to tell you how difficult it is.
I can't. I mean, I don't know if I'll ever do an Ironman, so I have tremendous respect for those who even want to do it. May not finish, but just trying, I think, is phenomenal.
Yeah, I think getting to the start line, again, when I talk about some of the issues that I've had, just getting to the start line is an achievement, and being in some sort of physical condition that you think you can finish it.
Yes.
So yeah.
So I mean, we have another comment here from I guess a gentleman called Matt. I believe this is somebody that you work with. So
He's one of the bosses.
Yeah, I figured as much. So again, I know you may not have heard this, so I'm just going to read his comment here.
I've not heard anything. No.
So again, guys, this comment is in the video description. You could read for yourself. So he says here, I work with Todd. Have done since the new year. He was in training then. He's been a roller coaster ride, hearing how it's gone with, I guess this is the training.
Yeah.
I know more about the digestive system than I really need to. We obviously hope that he makes it to the start line and the finish line, and we all want to get a quote, "I work with an Ironman" tattoo.
Yeah, I think that relates to, there's a couple of tongue-in-cheek quotes there. The one is that when I first started it, I wouldn't say the reason for doing it was for myself.
Yes.
And then I see a lot of these Ironman people having little tattoos, and I thought, that would be good. But I actually don't know now whether I will have a tattoo. I've never had a tattoo. And someone said to me the other day, if your father drove a bus, would you have a bus on your leg to tell him that your father drove buses? And I thought, yeah, do I really need a tattoo? Because I know I've got to that start line, and fingers crossed I finish it. I don't need to tell anybody.
It is still an impressive achievement.
The other thing is about related to some of the issues that I've had recently with a bad stomach, which has landed me in hospital a couple of times.
Yeah, I mean, let's touch on that. Obviously the training is intense.
Yeah,
you can overtrain for these types of things, and obviously you had some fallbacks. So let's touch a little bit about some of those items that have kind of affected you in all this training.
I think since the new year, I've had a bit of a tweak in one of my calves, but nothing major. That's something that I can cope with. And I've also, while I'm at it, I've got to mention Liz. I've been to see her today and had a sports massage.
Nice. This is your physiotherapist.
Yeah, I've got a card somewhere.
Send me the info. I'll put a link below.
Yeah, she's on my Facebook, Liz. And she's done a lot of work on my legs, my battered legs, calves and thighs this morning. But yeah, then what's happened, I was in a good place probably about 10 weeks ago, where I probably didn't realize not how fit I was, but how well I was going by my standards. And then I just needed to do a little bit longer stuff. I had already done an 18-mile run. I had done a 100 kilometer bike. I needed to do a bit more. I had done a 2-mile swim, but I needed to do a bit more of them. And then I struggled with some problems with my stomach to the point where I had to go to the doctors. They did blood tests. And for some reason, the doctor did the little bit I know about it, the doctor did the 4 normal routine blood tests. And because I had lost quite a bit of weight around the back end of last year, which maybe was nothing to do with training, it may have been to do with the job that I was doing at the time. She decided to do a test for tumor, cancer, tumor, however you want to tart it up. It's not a great subject. And it came back. My 4 other bloods were fine, and that came back with a high marker, which then the NHS is superb. Within the last month, the last 4 weeks, I've had all sorts of tests, from scans to cameras, X-rays, and even up to 2 weeks ago, I had to book myself. I say book myself in. I turned up at A&E because my stomach was so bad. I was in so much pain that I had to go to A&E. Unfortunately, they kept me in overnight, and they did a load more other tests. But unfortunately, I'm still waiting. I was hoping I would know today.
Yes.
I'm still waiting to know the final results of the tests. I know one of the cameras, the person who actually, the doctor who did the camera said, by eye, looking through the camera, it looked okay. They did a lot of biopsies, which is standard.
Yes.
Nothing different for me. I got no results then of those. I got no results of the scan. So a little bit worrying, but I put that to the back of my mind. I got plenty to get on with the training. And fortunately, the last week or so, I've been able to get back on the food plan, and my energy levels have started. I've done a couple of 10-mile runs. But I've also, which is probably through my stomach, which was nothing to do with the training, I've now got a small hernia in my groin,
Right.
which I've had to throttle back a little bit on the bike, going really, really steady, well within my comfort zone. And I'm probably only doing, I think the longest ride I've done is 60 kilometers. And when you think the race distance on the bike is 180 kilometers, or I think it's 112 miles, I'm winging it a little bit. I'm just hoping that my general fitness on the day, and there's a cut-off point as well, that after the swim and the bike, you have to do those. It's a 2.4 mile swim in open water in a lake. And then it's 112, as I said, miles cycle. And you have to get your running shoes on and out of that transition within 10 and a quarter hours. So, that we just have to see how it goes.
I mean, yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors that can go with you or against you on the day,
Yeah, definitely.
I'm sure that there's a lot better people than me that have, for some reason, not finished. So, although I don't, touch wood, I don't want that to be me. But yeah, that's in the hands of the gods.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, just very briefly, what would you say is your strongest?
I knew you were going to ask that. Honestly, it changes every week. My strongest attribute is my mind. Pretty much going back to what Craig said. Definitely my determination and my mind mind over matter, however you want to phrase it.
The will.
Yeah, my never give up. That's my trump card. Possibly the run, but we're talking it's a full marathon at the end. After 10 hours or so on the bike and the swim, you got to then, anything between, I'm looking at possibly 5 hours running. It's crazy, really. I tend to break it down into individuals, and then break the individuals down maybe into 5 mile or 10 mile slots with a run. So yeah, possibly the run. I don't run fast. I think on the day, if I do 10-minute miles for 26 miles, I'll be more than happy. That I think that brings me in under 4.5 hours. So I've got another half hour in leeway, shall we say then. The swim, I swim okay. I'm no world beater at any of these disciplines. But I had a little bit of an eye-opener recently when I went to practice in a lake swim, which is what this will be. It's in a regatta in Nottingham. And totally out of my comfort zone, because I find that the wetsuit in the cold water, it tends to restrict your breathing.
Right.
And you need to keep a calm head. And I'm going to go and practice a few more times and hopefully relax, and hopefully I'm capable of something around the 130, 140 mark, hour 30 in the swim. But I'd be honest, if I got out at 150, I'd be happy. And then 8 hours on the bike, and I've made the cut off, and I'm still, you got to be in it to win it.
That's it. So would you say that the cycling might be your weakest part of the triathlon?
Definitely at the beginning, the cycling was definitely my weakest. I'm one of these persons who I like to pick people's brains. I bumped into two, I'm sure they won't mind me saying, older guys, my age, I'm no spring chicken. I bumped into two guys from Port Talbot one time when I was riding down towards Neath, and spoke to them about how to improve. And I pretty much did a month riding all the mountains around here: Treherbert, Mardy, Brecon, never ending. Penrhys is something else. But
Beautiful place.
That then gave me a lot more strength in my legs and a lot more belief. But then obviously with the stomach issues, I've throttled back now. And I don't know, I think I would have probably been looking at 6.5, 7 hours. But now I'd be glad to get in 8.
Absolutely. So I mean, you are still kind of waiting on, obviously the doctors have to kind of give you the final clear. So
I think whatever the answer from the doctors, I'm doing it now anyway.
You're kind of in it. You're too far gone.
I can't stop now.
Yeah.
The charities, which is gonna hopefully
I was about to say
on the weekend. I visited one of the charities, which is my Squid School.
Yes.
A school fairly local to me. A friend of mine, how he came about, one of his sons goes to this school. He's autistic. And I went there, and it was actually the Friday before the Sunday that I put myself into hospital. And it was emotional. They introduced me into almost every class, because there was quite a lot of different classes there, because they're very small classes, because these children, they don't take to change very well.
Right.
But I quickly realized that they're in their own little bubble, not from COVID. They're in their own little bubble in our school. They're safe. They're with people who understand them. They can be themselves. It's a magic it's a magic place, like, and they were dead chuffed for me. Them kids, they clapped me, like,
Come on.
and yeah, tough. It was a bit emotional now. They, I came from it, and I thought I have to do this,
Yes. I mean, you beat me to the question. I was going to ask, what was the moment that really said, no matter what, I'm gonna do it. And that was the answer I was looking for.
That was one of them.
Yeah.
And then with the other charity, which is Latch, for children with leukemia. A friend of mine, his young daughter has been having treatment in Cardiff, and I know firsthand then what they've done for him or for his daughter. The treatment is world class, and just some of the things that, the accommodation that you can have to stay there when your child is on the treatment, notebooks, as in small laptops. I'm not very technical, as you know. Yeah, it's never ending. Push chairs, all these for free, and all pretty much through money raised from charity. And yeah, such a great place.
So just very quickly, what is your goal for the charity? How much would you like to raise, and how is the money going to be dealt with for people who want to give?
Okay, so I suppose based on what I did for the sons, for the Stillborn, that was that was over £1,000. I think if I could get £2,000 and they could both have it's an equal split, whatever I get. I think £2,000 is my target. We can always do with more, can't we?
Of course.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's hopefully that donation page will be up this weekend. Is that
this
correct?
Weekend. Okay. Again, like I said, I'm not very technically minded.
Sure.
So our next door neighbor is going to set that page up, Sarah.
Fantastic.
And that'll be up and running on the weekend. And then, yeah, I'll be highlighting it on Facebook and other medias. Yeah.
Fantastic. So we've only got about four minutes left. I wanted to touch very quickly on how has the family been supportive? Your wife, obviously you're married with kids.
Yeah.
What do they think? How are they being supportive?
I know this might not seem a lot, because I do all my food and I do the shopping. Unfortunately, at the minute we're having a house done up, so we're in a rented house across the road, and we haven't got a freezer. So I have to go. That's another problem. I have to go and get the food fresh every 2 or 3 days. Yeah. Chicken, salmon, you know the diet.
Yeah.
The usual gym diet, I suppose,
exactly.
with a few alterations, veg and so on. So yeah, I do my food, but I think obviously every time I go training, which is every day pretty much, my clothes are either soaking wet from the rain or from sweat. So they need washing every day, whether it's cycling, running, swimming. So yeah, my wife does that. And that's such a massive help, because every time then, every third day, shall we say, that our run comes around, my clothes are there.
Ready to go.
Yeah, ready. And that's brilliant. And then the rest of my family, my two sons, they are fit. The oldest is a physiotherapist. Say it again.
Yes.
Physiotherapist, yes. He doesn't do friends and family, unfortunately. But he'd have his work cut out with me and my other son. But he's the straight talking, level headed person. When I told him I had a hernia, he said, well, you just have to manage it. You know, there was no like, you ain't doing it. He's very fit anyway. And my other son, yeah, the one who did the boxing, he's got a great engine on him. He's a gym instructor. So between the two of them, they motivate me.
Fantastic.
They don't let my levels drop. I've got a daughter. She's into rugby. So yeah, and then my brother and endless people when I'm out on the bike or running, beeping their horn and maybe a
Cheering
few
you
days
on.
later, because I don't know who they are half the time. And then a few days later, someone will message me and I say, "Oh, I did see you," but you know, yeah, some of the support I've had has been great. And then there's been a few key people. I just touched on the two guys, the triathletes from Port Talbot. Again, Liz that I've been to see today. It basically it's like having a full team behind you, even as if like a professional. I've been to a guy I know well, Steve Cannon. He's in Cardiff, DTR Clinic, so he's a physio. I've been to see Ben, the chiropractor at number 36 in Cardiff, top guy. One of the most inspirational people I bumped into, a quick story. I was looking for a new seat for my bike on
Yes.
Marketplace. I bought a new seat on Marketplace. And this guy said, "Oh, I'm passing." He said, "I can meet you in Asda's petrol station." So I said, "Yeah, okay." And this seat was £15. And he opened the boot up and he had a load of cycling gear in there. And I had the seat. And he had a Great Britain training tracksuit in there. And it looked really official. It wasn't like, you know, one just bought. So I said,
Yes.
"Well, how have you come together?" Oh, he said, "That was part of the kit when I was riding for Great Britain."
Come on.
And whoa, hang on. And then honestly, right, and I won't go into the story because I'll give his name. And if you need any inspiration, this guy, it's a guy called Mark Colburn, and he was into all sorts of sport. Paragliding was his main one, and he had a crash, and it changed his life. He was paralyzed. From that moment he crashed, he was paralyzed. But his get up and go and determination to have a new life resulted in, from the time that he had that crash and he got out of bed, however many months later, because he was in hospital for months, he then went and won a gold medal in the London Paralympics. And
Wow.
honest, check out Mark Colburn because he does some talks, and I've spoke to him a few times now, and yeah, great guy.
A real inspiration.
Then yeah,
Yes.
there's been other people. I've got a few names here. Carl Alexander, Lee Howells, Tony Daly. These are all people who I know who have done Ironman or triathlon. Yeah, and like I said, I'm one of these ones. I don't know much about it. Even if I did, I'm always trying to improve, and they've given me some great advice.
Fantastic. We were supposed to get a message in from a gentleman called Simon McLean, again a
All
friend of
right,
yours.
I know
He
he's the steward in the con club.
Oh, fantastic. Well, he didn't actually send me the quote. So I said, yeah,
Oh,
here's
never. That's how
so
you get
so
him.
yeah, I will add the quote later and you
All
could
right,
come back and check it. But
no
he did message
problem.
me saying he was going to say a few words, but he never sent it in time.
All right.
I think you also mentioned that your boss and your company where you're working has been very
Yeah,
supportive.
I've been fortunate. I used to work in the aircraft industry for 10 years, and I was involved a little bit before that with education with the college. And then I got made redundant with COVID. And at the time, it didn't seem a good time. I was on very good money there, and but I've since started working with Paramount Home Interiors, and it's on my doorstep. And I started working with them because one of the family members passed away, sadly, and they were looking for someone who could turn their hand to putting doors together, and a totally different angle to what I was doing before, you know.
Yes.
Fairly fit to be lifting and carrying and whatever. Not that I'm the strongest, mind. And they've been brilliant. The three guys, there's only 4 of us in the factory. And the 3 guys there, as I mentioned, are all family. They all own the company, and I'm the new T-boy.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
But they're great. Can't thank them enough. It's put a new perspective. Yes, I don't get as much money, but my life-work balance is so much more better. And yeah, I didn't realize at the time. You get wrapped up in this money, but yeah, I'm in a better place now. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, we've done just over an hour. Again, I think your story is fun.
It's mad what you could talk about.
I know, it's great. It's absolutely great. And again, all of the best to you. So if somebody wants to get in touch with you, I did put your Facebook contact below.
Yeah, that's fine.
Is there any other way people could get in touch with you? Are you on any other
email? They could do T_Davies, and Davies is IES, at hotmail.co.uk. Again, I'm not very technically, I'm not on Twitter and all these other things. Life's too complicated.
Yeah, I agree
with all them. But I'm sure that if someone wants to get in touch, they can. If they believe that I can help them play pool better, motivate them better, I don't know, lose weight. What get fitter? I'm no expert on any of them, but as Craig said, I am well motivated and driven. So yeah, fire away.
Fantastic. Well, again, all the best of success for you on the triathlon. Hopefully somebody's going to record some key moments either by photography or capture you on video.
There will be, hopefully somebody will get me crossing the line, because I think that's par for the course with the organizers.
Absolutely.
A friend, as I mentioned earlier, Carl Alexander, his wife will be there, so hopefully she'll get a few shots of me. I won't be quite as quick as him, so she'll have more chance.
Fantastic. That's a really cool picture in the background, by the way. So
I'll have to hear.
I don't know whose decorating choice that was.
That's not me at the end of the race.
Well, Todd, my friend, thank you so much for sharing your story with me.
Thank you for highlighting foremost the charities.
The charities.
And, I know when we first talked about it, I've spoke to a lot of people and brought up a lot more memories with the pool that I'd forgotten about.
Good. Maybe I'll have you on again and we'll just talk about some of those stories that we missed.
Okay.
Excellent. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is the show for today. You know, of course, like, share, subscribe if you know anybody who's going to be inspired by such stories, as well as who might be interested in donating to the charity. Again, all of the information is below this description. I believe I'm going to be outporting this to the podcast platform in a couple of days. So that will probably be on the 10K Run podcast. You can subscribe if you want to hear it over the podcasting system. So with that said, everybody, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time.
Thank you very much.